This video is a day late, and it isn't the video that you were expecting. Sorry about that. I had planned for this to be a reading vlog on Thursday, but then I had a really busy week, didn't read enough to actually get you a reading vlog, so instead you get a Dresden spoiler chat on a Friday in a lawn chair with a barking dog and lawnmowers. We're all losing, except for me, because this book was great. This book is full of characters, old favorites that have all shown up at the same time in the same book, interacting, hanging out, new characters, very interesting, crazy action, just non-stop movement. This book was a wild ride, but it was also so emotional. I cried through the ending, and that was very rude of this book to do to me. I read Small Favors, by the way, whatever side of me it's gonna end up on, which is Dresden book 10, and it was excellent. I've been told, especially after White Knight, which I was very disappointed in. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it was, yeah, it was a letdown. And I was told book 10 forward, we're on the level of proven guilty, or whatever the dinosaur book was. And I doubted you in the beginning of the book. I no longer doubt. I love the early scene in the book where Harry is having a snowball fight with Michael's family, with all the kiddos running around with them, playing, just getting to be a kid with these kids, getting to be their uncle, even though that's not what he is. And he even got some really great time with Charity, and it was just so special because we know how important family is to Harry. We know how it hurts Harry that he didn't get to have family the way that he wanted to, and getting to have this time of bonding and relationship with Michael's whole family and Charity, accepting him, finally accepting him as a piece of their family and as one of them. It was so beautiful. And then I want you to do me a favor. Oh my goodness. Mab is back, and she's terrifying. And she's back to get another favor, to be her emissary and to protect Marcone. And as well as offering him once again the Winter Knight position, which he keeps turning down. He does consider, but you know, Harry having all this temptation around him in various forms and continuing to choose the greater good is a theme within the series. But I am just kind of waiting for the Winter Knight role to be filled and for us to finally make good on that and see what's gonna happen. It was an excellent scene though. Mab is a great antagonistic character, so powerful, so cunning, so mysterious. I have many questions, and I'm always excited when she's on the page. I wasn't very interested in the gruff, and that was a big reason why the beginning of the book didn't interest me as much, which someone pointed out to me recently that all of Dresden books, I'm always just kind of like, I don't know, I'm not so sure, and then the books pick up, and then by the end I'm like, I loved it. So maybe I shouldn't blame the gruffs, but I was never really into the gruffs. They didn't do a lot for me. I actually don't have that much to say about gruffs except for when we talk about donuts. But I don't have a lot to say about gruffs in this book. I actually thought that Nicodemus and the Denarians were excellent threats in this book, and the gruff were just kind of there. So I don't have a ton to say about them. Though I will say one early scene that I really liked it was Torelli. So it was one of Marcone's thugs. I love this scene in a book full of amazing quotes. I could use a man of your skills once my health club finishes. He gave Demeter a sour glance, reprioritizing. You couldn't afford me, I said. I'm going to be able to afford a lot, he said. Name your price. $156 gajillion, I said promptly. He squinted at me, as if trying to decide if I was joking. Or maybe he was just trying to figure out how many zeros I was talking about. You think you're cute, huh? I'm freaking adorable, I said, especially with the raccoon face I've got going on here. Torelli's features darkened. Kid, you just made the last mistake of your life. I wish, I said. I would just like to say the audacity of this man, and I say that throughout every single Dresden book I read, the audacity. Like, Dresden, Harry, you know what kind of threats you're facing against. You know what's going on here. You're so stupid, but like, Not really. He's perfectly aware of what he's doing. He's just an idiot, and I deeply love him for it. Let me move. The sun moved, therefore I should too. Anyway, I was super excited that Nicodemus and the Denarians are back. They were an amazing threat in some other previous book. They all blend together to me now. And they were an amazing threat in this one as well. They're such intimidating villains. They're so powerful and ancient, and they understand humanity, and they're just like I really, really enjoy the tension there. I love the intelligence of Nicodemus and the ways that the lengths that he's willing to go to get what he wants. The fact that he cannot be trusted. And so it's unsurprising when he betrays us. Yet, it's still such a great scene. The scene with Nicodemus and Harry at the aquarium, where Nicodemus tries every tactic he can think of. He tries manipulation, intimidation, negotiations, but all this time he's got his own plans. He's going to try to get the archive. I really, really like Ivy, and I loved that Harry and Ivy teamed up. And when she got kidnapped, I really appreciate Harry's intentionality about children. You know, we hear 1,000,005 times in every single book that Harry is a traditional man, and when a girl cries, it affects him and he can't say no, and when a girl is in danger, he can't help but go and chase the bad guy. And I don't know the psychology behind this, about how he's all the time just being like, I'm traditional, I'm old-fashioned, and this is why I feel the way I do about protecting women, but he doesn't ever reflect on his own morality around children. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's very protective about children. He has hard lines with kids. I think it was the last book where he was furious about a certain vampire affecting children. He was like, you hurt kids. We're not friends. We're not working together. I have lines. You don't mess with kids, right? And it's the same way with Ivy. He has this fierce protectiveness towards her, and it's not really something that he constantly reflects on like he does with his protectiveness towards women. It's something that he just kind of feels. It's something that he doesn't feel the need to justify or moralize or explain away, or congratulate himself for. It's something that just is, but it's something that I feel like in the guts of this book. Do you know what I mean? When someone would target a child is something very personal and guttural to him. It's something that he will move heaven and earth to protect a child that's being harmed. And that's something that's highlighted over and over again throughout books, but it's something that we really, really see in Ivy, and it's so powerful, and it's one of Harry's best traits to see in action, is that fierce protectiveness towards children in a world that some people will abuse and manipulate and try to control them. So Nicodemus's plan is to coerce Ivy into accepting a blackened denarius. And this is huge, obviously, because of how incredibly powerful Ivy is and what destruction that could bring. So Harry is willing to do anything to get Ivy back, to include trading some really valuable items. One scene that I really loved in this section of the book was Michael's confrontation with Harry. Now, I don't appreciate Michael and Harry having confrontations. I don't appreciate Michael not trusting Harry because of the relationship that they have established up to this point, the incredible bond that they've had. Even, again, I think it was last book, but books really do blend together for me. The Dresden books blend together for me. But I think it was the last book when Harry was trying to not shake Michael's hand because he didn't want him to know about Lashiel, but Michael already knew, and he just was letting Harry let him know when he felt the time was right. Like, that trust and that bond is such a key component in their relationship. So to see that shaken, where Michael is questioning Harry, and it's fair, it's reasonable, because it is difficult to continuously deny the fallen. But he's questioning him, and he's like, I don't know that you're not being controlled. I can't know that right now. And you could be being manipulated right now. Harry is determined to convince Michael, I'm still me. Nothing has changed. And I loved when Michael just very simply asks him, okay, answer me one question. Where's your rod? And Harry, the way it's described of Harry just kind of reaching into his mind, and it's fuzzy, and he's trying to figure it, he's like, the rod, I know that matters to me. That's something I should know about, but I can't quite I don't know what you mean. I can't think of it. It's kind of, it's like it's obscured in his mind, and he realizes that his mind actually has been tampered with. Another scene that I really, really loved in this book was Guard. Miss Guard is a Valkyrie. So they were in this battle, and Miss Guard is keying in on Michael, and Harry decides that means that, you know, you have a Valkyrie circling over a battle, focusing in on one person, probably not good. So he's just trying to get Michael out of there as quickly as possible. And when the Denarians shot Michael, when Michael got so badly injured, Harry's reaction to it, the whole sequence, and Harry felt so responsible, and oh, I hurt for Harry, I hurt for Michael. I thought Michael might be dead. I thought Michael might be dead, and I was going to be so mad at Butcher for taking away my favorite character in the series, but also for taking him away when he and Harry have had some friction. And the fact that this book began with Harry having that snowball fight, and so he was accepted into Michael's family and then near died, I thought was dead. And I was like, no, don't give Harry this family. Don't give him this found family. Don't establish through Michael that they almost have all the coins. I think they had like 6 left to gather. And so Michael was like, I could retire, possibly. Like I could go to my kids' baseball games. We could finish this, right? And so like he's thinking about a future. Harry is finally accepted by the entire family. Molly's doing great. You know, everything is starting to go well. And then we're gonna kill Michael. And then Charity, after all her protectiveness over Michael and not wanting Michael and Harry to hang out because Michael always gets injured around him, she's gonna blame Harry for this, and then that's gonna completely destroy this new familial bond that he's finally been accepted into. It's gonna mess up Molly because she's doing great. She's maturing. She's getting more, she's accepting that she can't be a part of every single thing because she's not skilled in combat magic, but she is very strong and she is very powerful, and so she does have amazing abilities. It's just not in the ways that she needs to always be present for every battle. So she's maturing, she's becoming stronger, but her magic is also extremely powerful and extremely detrimental if she uses it poorly. So is she gonna go down a dark path because she's lost her father, and she blames Harry too, and then Harry, we have that curse that's over him, that prophecy that's over him, that he's gonna die alone, so is everything gonna unravel? And I was like, sorry, I just had a little mini spiral all over again, just remembering what I was thinking in that scene. I hated that. He's fine, but he's also not fine. I did love the scene on the island with the eldest gruff with the donut, where he has this boon, was it called? And he uses it for a freshly made donut. And oh my goodness, the humor around that scene where he was like, might take me a while to get it. And Harry goes, that's fine, get it. And he's like, okay. Dost my lord want jelly in it? I hast desire for sprinkles, or however kind of formal language they had while they were talking about exactly what kind of donut he wanted from the elder gruff. So Harry manages to escape off the boat after one last confrontation with Nicodemus, where he oh golly, how did that scene go? That was actually a really stellar scene. Like I said, this week has been crazy hectic for me, so literally all the note taking I did was just some quick bullet points in my phone notes app as I was either reading the ebook or listening to the audiobook, just as I was trying to bounce around life. So my notes are very, very bad for this particular book. Oh, that's right. I did write down a quote. Oh my goodness, I love it. Okay. Lashiel's shadow doesn't live here anymore. The fallen have no power over me, and neither do you. Oh my goodness, it was so good. And then he overpowered him and he knocked him into the water, and his daughter, Nicodemus's daughter, was able to dive in and save him at the very last moment. And then Murphy showed up and she saved Harry, or got Harry away. And she drew the sword. She drew the chatty. Did I write that down? Oh, it starts with an F. Fidelicious sword. So, is she gonna be one of the Knights of the Cross? Because, okay, I'm very confused. Okay, talk to me about this. Because in this book, we found out that several of the previous owners of these swords were descendants of royalty, were descendants of kings. So does that mean that you have to be a descendant of a king in order to wield one of these swords? So it was mentioned in this book that Sonia, as well as Shiro, were descendants of kings. So since Murphy was able to wield a sword, I am curious if she's a descendant of king, if she's going to be a Knight of the Cross. They talked about it at the end of the book. They had a little chat about it, and she said, it's probably not me. I'm not the one to be a Knight of the Cross, but also maybe you are, like maybe you are, because she does have a lot of the moral and characteristics that you kind of attribute to them, and that would be killer. Wouldn't that be killer? Wouldn't that be an amazing progression for Murphy to join this order? Especially since Michael's probably out with his injury. I mean, he's gonna survive, but he's not gonna recover. He had oh my goodness, he had crushed ribs, he had broken bones, I think he had a punctured lung or something. He had some horrible injuries here, and he's not gonna just walk away and continue to be able to be a part of this, which is devastating. I mean, I'm so happy he's alive. I'm so happy he's okay. And he was reflecting earlier in the book that to retire would potentially be a positive thing for him, because he would love to be more involved with his family and to not constantly be called away. But also, being a part of this is a huge part of his identity and how he serves God and how he honors God. And so to have it taken away from him rather than for it to feel like this is my time, it's time for me to end, is something to mourn over. But if I know Michael, then he'll probably view it as it was my time to move on, so now I'm moving on, and now I get to spend more time with my family, and he's going to choose to see it as a blessing. And I know he's not going to have hard feelings towards Harry, but Harry is going to hold on to this. Sorry, another little spiral. Let me get back to, we're not even to the hospital yet. Oh, great. Next thing in my notes is that Harry goes to the hospital. So this whole sequence at the end had me all kinds of emotional. Michael going down, me thinking that he's dead, but he's not. He's at the hospital, but he's badly, badly wounded. How this affects Harry, how much personal responsibility he takes for this. The scene where he's at the hospital and shucks, and Molly is hurting, and he's hurting, and Charity is hurting, and Charity is just kind of monotonely reporting the injuries, and Harry hears it all, and then he's like, okay, I'm gonna give you guys some space, and which is what he should do, and that's what they would want him, well, especially Charity would want him to do in every other book before this. But in this book, Charity says no. I wrote it down. She said, families stay, Harry. He would stay for you. I just finished this book last night. I'm still very emotional. So I'm sure this meant the world to Harry. It means the world to me. Charity. I was so afraid that this was going to just destroy everything. You heard my mental spiral 5-10 minutes ago. I was so afraid that this was going to ruin everything. The relationship, Charity finally accepting him into the family was just going to be out the window. But instead, she doubles down and she's like, in our moment of pain, we stay together. So you stay. It was beautiful. And then when Harry did leave and he went into the chapel and he was just crying out to God, this doesn't make you look good. You have these fallen, you have these Denarians, you have all these people wielding all this power. And then Michael, a good man, sits here. And it was just such an honest grieving and an honest pain that was displayed through Harry. And then the janitor coming up to him and handing him the book and telling him, you probably don't want a helpful message right now, you probably just want to feel, but consider that God doesn't see things the way that we do, and that God is looking at a much wider picture, and he's everywhere, and he sees all the perspectives, and you may be looking at the evil that's happening and not seeing the good that's counteracting it. And then he hands him the book after he says all that, and then he leaves, and then he disappears, and he's gone. And it's like, maybe he's the good. Maybe he's the good. The janitor was the good. He was an angel. He was a good one. He wasn't a fallen. Such incredible emotions. I always get emotions pulled out of me in these books. I think that I have loads of little quibbles that I could talk about for Butcher's writing, but Butcher writes emotional scenes impeccably, and this has got to be my number one emotional sequence. Okay, so Harry does get the staff back from Mab. She has one request left of him. Oh, and Sonia gave Amarachius, Michael's sword, to Harry and told him to pass it on when the time is right. I would like to talk to you about Lucio or Anastasia. I'd like to talk to you about her because, first of all, her advising Harry to stay away from Ivy or to like back away from Ivy, no. Like, I am so on Harry's side on this. Like, Ivy is a child who has been tortured, used, manipulated, captured, and like she's seen so much in such a short amount of time. She deserves a chance to make her own choices, to choose her own future. She deserves a chance to pick something for her. We shouldn't just assume the worst in her just because she's extremely powerful. And yes, I understand the pragmatism of it, but Harry is not gonna jive with that. Come on, Harry is not gonna jive with a more pragmatist look towards this child who's been harmed. He's going to want to take her under his wing. He's going to want to protect her. He's going to want to teach her to follow a better path than the one that they're assuming she's going to have. And then, listen, good for Harry. Happy you found yourself a new relationship. Personally, I don't think that she's the one for you. I don't think that she's a good match for you. I realize that the timing has been tricky for Murphy and situations have been not so great for Susan, but also I'm not a fan of her. I think I'm just really mad at her about the Ivy thing because I'm so team Harry on that, but I'm also very team Murphy. And when Murphy was like, yeah, she's probably not the one. She's probably, I mean, she's your boss. Murphy made a very good point. She's your boss and you're gonna have to keep secrets from her. This probably isn't gonna work out for you. And you know, I know Murphy also probably still has feelings for him even though she closed that door. So there's probably some double motives, but I don't have feelings for him, so I'm objective. I'm not emotional. You are. There's just better options out here. I just don't think I like her. All right, my phone's about to die, so let me see what other little random thoughts I jotted down in here. Marcone might have a coin. That's horrifying. Oh my goodness. Oh, Harry's able to use Soulfire now, and Bob explained to him at the end of the book that Soulfire, what did he say? He said it infuses some of Harry's soul with the magic and uses that. And Harry's like, oh, that's good to know. That's probably not great for me. And Bob's like, it grows back. and Harry goes, okay, what happens if I use too much? And Bob's like, 5 minus 5 equals what, Harry? I'm like, oh no. And then it ended with Harry and Anastasia getting together. I really enjoyed this book. My goodness. It was so good. Slow start for me, but apparently these books all have a slow start for me, which is weird because they do have really good cold openings. It just takes me a while to kind of get into them, but non-stop action, tons of familiar characters, tons of new excellent characters, crazy plot stuff, the world's opening up, so many threads to keep track of. Oh my goodness, so many threads that I feel like were touched on in this book, but then so many that still haven't even begun to be pulled at. So much still going on in the wider world. I'm really concerned about Michael, but I'm so happy that the bond that Harry has developed with his family is still strong. Still worried about that curse or prophecy on Harry's life though and how he's gonna die. Yeah, lots of good stuff. This video is probably long enough. Feels like I've been here for a while, so I'm gonna stop talking. Thank you for watching. Looking forward to the next Dresden book. Feel free to chat with me more in the comments about anything that I mentioned or anything that I didn't. A lot happened in this book, so there's probably plenty to talk about. Oh yeah, I do the tier list. Here's where I would put Small Favor. It is a 5-star book. I honestly don't know which one I like more at this point. They're probably pretty evenly tied, but I had a great time. Loved this book. Bye.